Okay, let's get started. 12.0.0. Speed cycle will focus on update 50, new content coming later in season 0 and in season 1. Also focus on general bug fixes coming to ESO. This update has several systems coming online to give you more flexibility and agency around the way you play and are rewarded. Systems include chance difficulty, PP veterancy, class mastery. Class Mastery, this new feature grants access to powerful passive effects for characters that have reached level 50 in their native class skill lines and are not actively subclassing. Additionally, Werewolf update. Don't need to read all of this. There's also some RP stuff. I think it's pretty cool that there's a new mythic that you upgrade by doing the quest line. I'll have to point that out. I hope they keep doing that. It's really cool. Nick Soren, thank you for the follow. Thank you. A favor system? Wait. What is the favor system? It's not the rumor system, that's a different one. Is this like a reputation system that they have in the night market? Are they bringing that out for more content? Could that be cool? I think it brings a lot of flavor to the game when you have factions and they can like you or hate you. I like that kind of stuff. Hopefully it's like that, but it probably isn't. Quality of life improvements. Okay, we kind of read about all of that already, so I'm just gonna skip to the interesting stuff here. This is the difficulty, it sounds difficulty. So you can make the overland and whatnot more difficult. That's also a very good thing to have. I don't know if it's really that rewarding. You get more gold and more XP, but it takes longer to kill things, so we'll see. Wet Transit, I showed this on the stream. A couple days ago we covered that. Vengeance campaign. So there's some changes, right? So you earn perks through veterancy system. Some new perks, I assume. New loadout skill lines. 6 new abilities per loadout for Soldier, Vanguard, Paramedic, and Scout. Link into the playstyle of those loadouts. Okay. But there's also gonna be Grey Host. And they close everything else. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Class Mastery. Okay, here we go. New feature that grants access to powerful passive effects that have mastered to reach level 50 in all 3 of their native class skill lines and are not actively subclassing. These skill lines will utilize class mastery points distinct from skill points. These are exclusively utilized in your class mastery skill line and are unlocked automatically when you unlock class mastery. Time being you're limited to 2, which are both immediately granted. Okay, losing access to class mastery in any capacity will refund these points and their effects, and the respec process is the same as normal skill points through the respec or armory systems. I hope this is not going to be exploitable where you keep the class mastery passives even though you subclass. Would not surprise me. I hope they test this thoroughly. Activating subclassing any capacity by swapping out 1 or more of your native skill lines will automatically refund and unlearn. Okay. Makes sense, makes sense. System is highly iterative and will likely see significant changes over time, as its primary goal is to lessen the gap between subclassing and pure or monoclassing. As we continue work on the class refresh, the contents of these skill lines will be adjusted as necessary both functionally and numerically. So they will probably nerf the passives as time goes by, and I really hope that the DK ones will be less good than the other classes at the moment. Like the strongest class mastery should be on Arcanist, Necro, and then maybe Nightblade after that. But definitely start with Arcanist and Necro, then Nightblade, then Templar, a Warden at that point probably, then Templar. Actually no, Warden should be giga strong because pure Warden is Garbo. So their class mastery should be really good. How would I do this? Because you kind of want to play pure Arcanist on Arcanist, so it shouldn't be the strongest ones. Even if the Arcanist itself kind of struggles. Probably Necro and Warden then. Necro and Warden then... what is really bad as pure class Nightblade after that. And then probably... probably Templar, and then Arcanist, and then Sork, and then DK, something like that. In terms of like how powerful the class mastery passives are, but we'll see on PTS, I think. Or we can see here if they mention the values. They don't. Passive effects stating they upgrade a specific effect mean they require you to have access to the effect. For example, passive that grants upgrades rank 2 of blood magic. No way that's going live. I know exactly which passive this talks about. There is no shot that goes live. That thing was disgusting. Like, absolutely disgusting. Still strong. If it procs from any ability. Like, 10% heal on any ability use is insane. Even if they nerf the regen part. Temporal Tomes. Okay. It's the Belpa stuff. They kinda talked about that as well. Season U50 PTS challenges. Okay. It would be nice if you could earn something for live server from testing on PTS. That's something that they could consider. Like maybe some trade bars or something. That could incentivize people to test on PTS a lot more. Sork has Giga class masteries. Spoiler. This is what I just said. They should not make the Sork masteries so strong. Sork is already pretty good without subclassing. Hey Fluffy, how you doing? Kanmu. Hello, sorry. DK nerfed yet? Unban no longer worth it? No, I don't know. This is the patch notes. We haven't gotten DK yet. Hopefully they don't nerf it. They're adding the class mastery passives that buff any class if you don't subclass. And Werewolf Rework is in this one. So this was also explained. Ashen black and white skill styles have been added to Werewolf transformation. Okay. Piercing Howl is now Gnash. New biting ability. New slaughter mechanic. Akin to Vampire's Feed and Blade of Woe assassinations. Prowl. Reduce your aggression radius against monsters by 66%. Allows you to sniff out hidden enemies with stealth detection. I wonder if it counters cloak as well, or just sneak. Mechanic also makes it great, easier for you to go on a slaughter rampage, have fun. Nightblade passives aren't too great, wouldn't surprise me. Like, I think they were very poorly designed when I first saw them. Dragonknight. Team has also been addressing bugs and player feedback from the first round of refreshes that launched in Update 49. Changes include added in Emerald green skill styles for Knight's Dragonfire Breath, Serum Strike and Magma Armor. Interesting. Interesting. So you can buy these in game, don't have to spend trade bars or anything. Adding a skill style for Dragonknight's Molten Weapons that does not include Weapon Override. Okay, that's something people asked for. Update the animation for Dragonknight's Earthspike Mantle to read as more outwardly aggressive, so more dramatic silhouette change. Okay. Just not really balance changes, but visual stuff. Thieves Guild. Wait, new consumable item, Somnal Powder. The fuck is that? What is Somnal Powder? I completely forgot about the new consumables, like the skill scrolls that they add in Night Market. That's still a thing, I think. I had completely forgotten about those. There's some other one, I guess. The powder. Interesting. New mythic, no new sets. Seogorat, new rewards, emote, new pet. Okay, no items. Favors. So what is this? Set up bossing boards throughout each alliance. New daily quests are specific to characters in their respective alliance. Each character's quest can be completed once per day. Completing a favor quest, players will receive both a reward and a letter from that character, detailing an ongoing story that unfolds across 20 quests per character. Okay, so just more dailies, I see. I see. Not a reputation system with factions or anything like that. Okay. It's the quality of life changes. We kinda learned about this already. Vampire and Werewolf quest improvements. Motive sourcing, in-game events, new titles. Any cool ones? Not really. Collectibles, template info, known issues. Werewolf skill style icons are still mid-flight and are missing or incorrectly displayed for the following. Transformation icons are missing. Nash, previously piercing hole icon, is still displaying an icon for the piercing hole person. Okay. Class Mastery, nothing wasted. Necromancer Class Mastery passive can result in the stacks becoming stuck on your character in very specific conditions. Still letting you generate stacks again, allowing to bypass the stack count. Okay. Sleep powder? Yeah, I wonder what that does. What is the sprint speed cap? It's the easiest way to reach it. Sprint speed is, you get normally 40%. Each piece of medium armor is under 3%, so you get 55 with 5 medium. And that gets you 55% speed, which doesn't bypass the overall speed cap, which is 200%. And your base speed is, it starts at 0. So if you're spending with Major Expedition, you get 85%. If you have 2 Swift, you get to 99%. Or 199% because base speed is 100%. And yeah, it doesn't go above that, basically. So you get to speed cap very easily. Guild mail. Okay. Fix an issue where light axe could become stuck in the ability queue when there were multiple attempts to light axe while using an ability with its cast or channel time. Should resolve the issue where your character could become stuck in what appeared as a heavy attack animation when using these abilities and attempting to weep rapidly. Ah, interesting if they actually fix that. Where you get stuck doing heavy attacks. Just randomly happens sometimes. Buff from continuous attack no longer drops in the vicinity of the lowland bandit camp. Okay, cool. Player pets have had their defensive capabilities updated to account for the ever-growing power scaling updates for player abilities. Pet's 85% damage reduction against area and overtime effects has been updated to also include any proc-based damage. It's purely a PvP-centric adjustment. Oof. Twilight healers just became a little bit more annoying. Not a lot, because not every build has proc effects, but still. Updated damage limit pets have to never take more than 33% of their max health in a single attack, rather than 45%. I didn't even know that was a thing. But there was like a cap on damage the pets take. Nobody likes pets. Yeah, it just adds to the clunky targeting, I think. Corrupting Pollen's debuffs now sorts closest to area center instead of targets. Okay, whatever. Following abilities, following effects now update per tick instead of on area enter. Ah, okay, so you don't instantly take damage. Interesting. So if you go in and out, you don't continuously take damage. That's a nerf to all of this. I didn't know cleansing ritual worked like that. Wait, we can test that in-game. You can like cheese the ritual by going in and out. Would be silly if it works like that. But I don't think it does. This probably means something else. A lot of proc sets affected by this Winterborn's damage. Fix an issue where some bonuses that granted damage down to monsters were multiplicative with other damage bonuses instead of additive. Fix the following. Unsol adjusts this set to 6% damage down to monsters, increasing to 18% for 30 seconds after interrupting, rather than 7% and increasing to 14% for 10 seconds after interrupting. It's probably an overall buff to Unsol, I think. Although if it's no longer multiplicative, then that's a nerf to Unsol. That's a big nerf. Because they already reduced to 6%. I just crafted Unsol. Unless you have something to interrupt. 30 seconds is a long duration, but it's a big if. It's a bit more situational set now. Boss say they increased the bonus because of the change to the scaling. Empower Shadow Cloak. Type 1 Veldstalker, Velocity got nerfed, okay. Interesting. This will result in affected effects to be reduced in power when used in tandem with other percentage-based damage bonuses. Generally increase some of the affected effects, some of these remain untouched until we get more data on average value impacts. Change in power was dependent on what other bonuses were being ran in tandem, which we can rectify during PTS or in a future update if necessary. Okay, I mean, Velocity you could say is a little bit too strong. It's a little bit too strong. Visual and audio bug fixes. When crouching, combat animations now play whenever your weapons are drawn instead of used when you're in combat. Okay. Hairstyles no longer float, cool. Dragonknight adjusted the effects for Dragonfire Breath and its morphs to be more performant in an effort to prevent them from being randomly cooled while in use. So that's when the fire breath disappears, like you don't see it, but you're still fire breathing. Visuals for Incinerate now correctly appear if the ability killed the target and ended combat immediately. Okay. Can we please, at the very least, can we get a fix to Flamelash? If you kill the target with the Flamelash, you should get the Powerlash. It's so fucking annoying that you don't get the Powerlash. Multi-weapons animation now cancels properly while using dual ult or one-handed and shield. I wonder if they fixed the polymorph. The animation bug. Third-person staff animations no longer stutter when returning to idle after using Petrify with morphs. Molten weapons visuals no longer appear during dialogue, okay, whatever. Molten weapon effects were unintentionally remaining visible while casting other abilities. Messled audio for Earthshield Mantle versus Sleep's Nocturnal skill style now works correctly. Messled audio for Magma Cell now correctly placed for targets other than the caster. Doubled Whirlwind and its morphs are no longer missing some visual effects, most notably when paired with certain skill styles. Chaotic Whirlwind sets visual effects did not properly apply to the Whirling Blades morph. Okay. Okay, Arcanist. Unblinking Eye, Languid Eye. Decrease the stacks this ultimate can achieve to 12, natural cap of 1 cast, down from 20. Introduce the cooldown to stack generation, preventing cases where multicasting this ultimate with Crypt Cannon. You could actually get a Giga Languid Eye with Crypt Cannon, or you can on live. I saw a video about that. Generate stacks faster than the intended rate. Note that multicasting this ultimate is expected to have each cast inherit the highest stacks. They do not each have separate stack counters for the same caster, as none of the game's stacking effects do. While this is a nerf to the ceiling of damage, in reality the vast majority of use cases will never feel these changes through. These are specific adjustments to quell some insanely high damage productions in special cases where you are able to have more than one Languid Eye active at a time. Okay, this didn't really see use in PvP. You could maybe in theory use that with Darkon, but who's gonna get pulled by that? Dragonknight, Ardent Flame, Lava Whip, Flamelash. This move no longer grants increased damage stun after consuming all charges, as we have recontextualized damage into a class mastery system. Okay. Move no longer grants increased damage down per stack. Same thing. So they removed the extra damage. It's only for DKs at the moment. Any other class using Whip does not get the damage. That's fine, yeah. I think that's fine. They don't nerf the damage of Flamelash, they don't nerf the damage of Molten Whip itself, just the extra bonus. That's fine, that's fine. Core of Flame fixed an issue where this ability and its morphs could cause desyncs to your resources if repeatedly cast while already active. Thank God. Thank you for fixing that. Baggins, thank you for the raid. Thank you. Much appreciated. We are just going through the patch notes here. Hope you had a good stream. Welcome everyone. It's a huge raid. We just got to the interesting part actually, the class changes. So they fixed the desync issue, hopefully, at least they say they fixed it. This ability would quite often desync your stats if repeatedly cast while already active and while a cost per tick ability was active. Oh, okay, so the desync happens if you run Hottenholm, or if you run Banner. Interesting. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Belfast, how you doing? Protavis, hello. Gemji, hello. How you all doing? Hello, Baggins. Veteran Nascaldies for the Stonehulk set. Recommended. Nice. That's not an easy DLC one. I did the... it's actually one of the harder ones if you do the hard modes there. I was stuck there for a while with my group. Did that like couple months ago. But it's a fun dungeon. Did you do the minigame? There's like a music minigame as well. Was stress, was tough, very healing. Because that's especially for healer and tank, it's pretty rough. Yeah, hopefully the build works out. Has some potential. The other set you can buy the Fast Rider if you're going for that. This ability will now begin to restore resource after a 350 millisecond delay rather than instantly. Ah, okay. That's a small nerf to Heart of Flame, but not a big nerf. Wait, did they buff Heart of Flame? Its morph now heals you for 15% of your max health per tick. Return 12 to 15 of your missing health per tick. Wait, what? No way. No way they buffed this. No. It was good. It was already really fucking good. Jared, how do you feel about this here? Your favorite skill? And now healing for 15% of max health. That's a vigor if you have 30k plus health. Holy. Because that's a big difference. Missing health and max health. It was 15%. Read. Now heals you for 15% of your max health. It is missing health at the moment. So normally you're not really missing that much health. It's only big ticks if you're low health. Like you can get bigger ticks than vigor at the moment sometimes. Now you get those ticks all the time. I don't know if that was necessary. I think it was fine. But more tankiness for DKs, sure. Sure. Gumber, how you doing? Surely there won't be 40k HP DKs, that's what I do on my dueling build. Oh boy, I already had 7k healing per second in duels. And now it's gonna be like 9k with this, that's crazy. That is actually insane. Wow. Searing Strike, Searing Claw. Oh. Here's the thing. They didn't need to buff this skill. They needed to buff this one. So they kinda buffed the wrong thing here. Because Heart of Flame is being used. It's really strong. Both morphs are fine. Searing Claw in PvP, you don't really see people use that. Fix an issue where this ranks... oh, it's just a fix, okay, I see. Doesn't really affect anything. Inferno, fix an issue where this ability instead morphs damage were not considered direct damage in some cases. Ooh, a little buff to corrosive, nice. It is considered dot damage by the game at the moment. It does not get buffed by onslaught, does not get buffed by corrosive. So that's a big buff to decay damage on certain builds. Interesting. I think my multi-chat froze. DK really needs more tankiness. I don't know if I agree with that. I think right now it's probably fine, it's stronger than other classes, but they do want to buff the other classes. You can hear the forum cry now though, will be reversed before patch. Oh yeah, forums are gonna be on fire once people figure out what this actually means. Because all people will read this and they're like, oh, it's 15%, now it's 15%? Okay, not in changes, right? Missing health, that makes all the difference. Bullseye, how you doing? And Fubi, hello. Don't know shit about their game. I mean, I wonder how they arrived to this conclusion. And Latera, how you doing? Nerf rallying cry, did they? Good. I really hope they did. I'm gonna get to that soon. Wing buffet. Fix an issue where these abilities and Flitstep Wings morphs knockback and stun effects were unintentionally treated as proc events. What does this mean? What difference does it make? If it's a proc effect, it doesn't do damage. Is there things you can proc with the knockback? No, right? Or is it like you can proc Rotgar now because there's a stun to the effect? Maybe that's the... It's not a huge change, this one. Spike Mental. Spike Mental. This ability now tracks the duration of the bonus damage rather than the damage over time effect with combat timer settings. To alleviate the issue where killing targets with the damage over time effect would active would result in the timer to be wiped. Wait, you tell me it's bugged right now? Oh, come on. Oh, it's only the other morph though. Fix the issue where this morph's effects did not all inherit Elfbane's duration extension, resulting in other cases where combat timers could produce confusing results. Interesting. Link to patch notes, it's a pin message, I think. But maybe someone can link it again, or I can. I'll link it in YouTube as well, actually. Well, I'll just do a multi-chat message. There we go. Dragon is really good with the upcoming mythic. You'll see me use that a lot. Changing a ton of sets. Interesting. We'll get to that soon as well. Superheated Forge. Update the animation for this ability and the Volcanic Forge morph to align better with the style and language of the abilities. Okay. That's the damage shield that people don't really use even though it's really good. It's because your decay heals are super strong from Draconic power. You don't usually want to build max Magicka and run the damage shield. Even though it's really good. Necromancer, Bone Tyrant, Bitter Harvest. This ability's morphs now properly work with effects that treat targets as a corpse. Oh, okay, that's really nice. So I think it's... It is bugged at the moment. I noticed that on my... Corpse Burster, Noblin Decay, Necrover, like you don't get extra duration on the heal from the self-corpse. That's a good fix, that's a really good fix. Warden, Green Balance, Nature's Gift. This passive now restores 125 to 150 magic and stamina to you when healing any target with a Green Balance ability, rather than restoring 138 to 177 magic or stamina, whichever is higher whenever you heal an ally with Green Balance ability. That's a huge buff. This now works on yourself. This is what I said when I was talking about Green Balance abilities in one of the tier lists. I said that this passive would be good if it also worked on self-heals. And they made it work with self-heals. Like Green Balance could actually be really good now. If you're taking damage every second, that's 500 magic and stamina regen. If you have like Vines active, for example. It's really solid. It's a good change. I wonder what... that makes me wonder what the Warden Rework's gonna look like, if they keep this passive like this. Because the skill line overall is probably getting buffs in update 51. Interesting. Winter's Embrace, Sleet Storm, Northern Storm. This ultimate now grants 4% damage stone per stack, up from 2%. Now decreased to 1% per... No, why? Why would you nerf it in PvP? This... Okay, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that this is because of the upcoming Warden changes. But they could just roll this change in update 51. I don't see why Northern Storm has to be nerfed in PvP right now. Its PV buff is fine, but this could stay as 2%. Why is it 1%? Makes no sense. Sure they don't mean 3% in PvP. Well, it says this bonus decreased to 1% per stack, not decreased to 3% per stack. So it is a nerf, I think. Frozen Gate. Fix an issue where this ability and Smurfs could prompt a break-free activation despite not being able to be cancelled. Okay. No one really uses that. Glacial Presence. This passive now disables its damage turn bonus to shield if you're wearing Step Path Signet. This is such a weird change. Why would you do this? Okay, no more Winter's Embrace on the status build. Fine, it's not gonna make a huge difference. Targeting a very specific combination here, as we've seen this mythic introduce some unhealthy power spikes with very specific builds. As we continue to balance other aspects of the game, we'll come back and monitor if we need to iterate on this interaction to make it less punitive. Did they also nerf Dragon? Dragon is also doing some funny things with the status mythic. Warden nerf? Yeah, kinda unnecessary. Judo, how you doing? Ruinaldo, hello. Someone in Balancing Team hates getting killed with a quitting Wretched Northern Storm, which is not even that good. It's a budget Koro at the moment. Unnecessary, but it's a bit insignificant nerf, to be honest. Warden gamers should be used to unnecessary nerfs by now. Yeah, but doesn't make them right. Redfish, how you doing? OP and PV, crazy Magnum bosses. Yeah, but the solution is not to... It's such a weird thing, like, oh, this passive is disabled if you run this one very specific item. It's just weird. I don't like this approach. You just make other things as strong as the Warden passive. Perma on status build. Permafrost? Yeah, on a status build, but why would you play a status build since they make it not work? You would not run the skill line on a status build. Forgot to nerf Arctic. Yeah, Giga OP skill, right? Class Master, okay, here we go. Warden's current passives are highly generic and number focused while we work on the class reverse. Makes sense. I hope that all of this, keep in mind, this is Warden. All of this is temporary. They will probably change the passive, they will probably change the skills a lot. They will probably buff this because this nerf makes no sense at the moment. It will not make sense after the rework. So it's probably some temporary thing. I hope they keep the Nature's Gift though. This is a good buff. Expect this to change in tandem with the effort, with that effort when it comes. Tundra's more. Passive upgrades shield status effect to also apply Major Brittle for 2 seconds upon application. Okay, you don't subcast on Warden anymore. So it couldn't get worse, but somehow got worse. Did I go through that part? Did you see the... You're probably referring to decay things, right? Or maybe there's something worse still, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's OP, but... Let's see what else they cooked. Wild Adaptation. This passive increases your weapon spell damage by 333 for each stage effect your target has on the, up to max of 1.6. There is no way this makes it live. No. You can't give... That's free 1600 weapon spell damage. So they were not... They were the actual numbers that we saw. When they showed this. Like, no, that's gonna change during PTS. This can also apply to friendly what does that even mean? Change pretty much all the others. Oh, so just Warden gets Giga OP passives before the Warden rework. That's, I don't know, a bit weird. For heals. Also applies to heals. Oh, okay, so if friendly targets have a lot of state effects on them, including yourself, most likely, then you get 1665 to healing, which is gonna make your vines like crazy. Vines which got buffed, so you have infinite sustain pretty much. That's Red's Vitality passive. Yeah, that's a bit OP, I think, that passive. When combined with this one. Glacial Obstinance. And passive upgrades bond with nature to also trigger off activating Winter's Embrace abilities. Cause the effect to grant you 15% weapon spell damage, that's also kind of broken. If you're at full health after the heal. So you combine these two. So you get that 15% on this thing. You have like 10k weapon spell damage, you get another 1600 from this passive. I think you Major Beetle, like, who cares? Who cares about Major Beetle? Let's get the Giga weapon spell damage. Greenkeeper's Side. Passive reduces your damage taken by 3% for every stage effect on your attacker. Up to maximum 15%. So that's like major protection and minor protection. But I think you go for this one. I get way more tankiness from the extra healing, because you have vines. Priest Triangles mitigation like that, pretty much. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. Or you can give people major heroism. So for a healer, this would be good, I think. You can give people free major heroisms. And the sustain. On healer, you probably run on this and... maybe this. No, you would run this one, I think. On a healer. Because everyone's gonna have status effects. Templar. Bastion of Light. This passive causes you to heal for 8% of your maximum health every second that Sacred Ground is active. Wait, you told me that they nerfed the passives. If you're at full health after the heal, you generate 2 ultimate while in combat. Sacred Ground will also be able to activate while you are inside the area of your Nova or Spear Swords, or while Radial Sweep or Soul Barrage are active. It's super easy to keep this passive active. 8% of your max health as Giga heals. That's 3k healing per second. If you have 40k health, that's just 3k healing per second. For free. It's insanely strong. Devout Guardian. This passive causes you to gain the damage skill for 6 seconds, up to once every 6 seconds while Sacred Ground is active. So the same passive. That's how big of a shield? Absorbs up to 20% of your max health. Really sauce. So if you have 40k health. It's a 4k shield every 6 seconds for free, right? I mean, that's not too broken with 40k. You probably want more max health. Oh, grants you 300 health, magic and stamina recovery. And ulti. So you can spam ultis. So you'd probably run this on a healer. Both of them. And just spam the healing ulti. For example. Bright Harbinger. Passive upgrades rank 2 of Illuminate to grant the affected group members 300 weapon spell damage, increasing to 600 for you. It is pretty good as well. You get 600 weapon spell damage. For free, basically, just by playing Pure Plar, which already was pretty strong. I don't know, like, these are pretty good. Judgment's Brand. Passive upgrades rank 2 of Burning Light to increase your damage done with Templar abilities by 1200. 625 against players. For 3.1 seconds after activating. I mean, if you proc the Sundered... Ah, but it doesn't buff Sundered. I think this is also pretty strong, even with the nerf against players. 625 on each stick of jabs, on Solar Barrage, potentially on the ulti. It's before modifiers, right? Nah, it's not bad, I think. Passive increase the amount of damage you can block by 20% while stationary. While stationary. Imagine this one with 0 Banes. You will not take damage while you block. You hold block, you cleanse, and then you get infinite sustain from this and rune. Easy. Or maybe you don't need to sustain, maybe you just build max health, and 8% of you max health every second, 50k health, GG. Stand in the rune, hold block. Vampire Bane each stick, yeah, would also buff that. I don't know, maybe there's some potential here. You could run the set that buffs your reflective light. I think any Templar dot, any Templar ability becomes good with this. So you can run this passive with reflective light, with the soul barrage, with the probably not spear shots, that's a bit too crazy, but you would in theory get a lot of value out of that. If you run the class set that buffs the Dawn Sweat damage by 20%. Oh, wait. Templar, that includes Beam, right? Beam benefits a lot from this. Beam gets a person's modifier. So you apply this to the base tooltip, and the base tooltip gets like plus 450%. It's kinda crazy when you think about it. Okay, Sorcerer. Conservation of energy. This passive upgrades rank 2 of Blood Magic to also activate of any ability with a cost, excluding cost-per-tick abilities, and to also restore 2% magic and stamina upon activation. That's giga strong. Buff that 2. Is it all 2? Wait, the class sets? Okay. We'll get to that in a bit. But I'm not gonna run out of sustain anymore on my Sorc. Basically ever. So you have a lot of max magicka and max stam as well with the disdain and bewitched and whatnot. Because you probably want to run bewitched with this. And you get 10% heal with any cast now. Except it's gonna mean that you want to run a Sorc spammable. Oh no, it's any ability with a cost. It doesn't even have to be Sorc spammable. 2% only on any ability cast. On any ability cast. If you have, let's say 30k. That is 600 magicka and stamina every time you use a spammable. So your 2.2k, or let's say 2k stam spammable is now 1.4k. That's more than 30%, 27 point, it's like 27-28% cost reduction. It's insanely strong. It's like two 5-piece sets worth of value. And you get a heal as well, so it's even more value than that. It's insane. Actually insane. Axel, thank you for the follow. Thank you. Yeah, that's fucking nuts. What are they doing? Who's gonna want to subclass? I don't mind that, but that's crazy. Font of Power. This passive upgrades rank 2 exploitation to also activate of any sorcerer ability. Grants you 1% weapon spell damage for every 1750 magicka or stamina you have. Whichever is higher for 10 seconds. That's not bad either. That's not bad at all. If you build, let's say 40k magicka, if you do disdain and you don't go like too crazy with the max magicka, it's 22% weapon spell damage. Let's say you have 5k, that's 22, it's 1.1k, it's almost the Warden passive. Hey Bobs, how you doing? Damage boy, hello. I think Sorc passives are very strong. Static Reverberation. Harkens to an ancient impassive implosion. Passive causes your damaging attacks to have 1% chance for every 1% missing health the target has. To trigger an additional hit of shock damage, 31.5% of the higher of your weapons or spell damage. Up to once every 200 milliseconds. I I don't think that's too strong. I mean, it sounds strong, but how often is it gonna proc with the cooldown? So let's say you have, let's say you play a higher weapon spellmass build, so no stack in max magic or stamina. 31.5% before modifiers would be 2.2k proc. That's not a lot of damage, that's less than Way of Fire. Can proc more often, sure. But is it that good? I don't know. I think it has to be tested. Warden ultimately grants you insta kill for the fuck of it. Warden passives are kinda nuts. Like green balance with this one passive is kinda crazy. Wines are like you don't die. Wines are giga strong if you can stack the weapon elements. Hey Blizon, how you doing? Blood magic works like frags, pretty sure you can exploit to proc whenever you want. Wait, no, it's an ability cast, right? It doesn't proc when you start casting frags. You can proc the proc frag by starting to cast it, but it's a PV passive. Implosion? Maybe. The cooldown kinda messed up. If you didn't have a cooldown, sure. It is shock damage though. You could there's a set and set that procs from shock damage. You could make a funny build with that. Font of power passive for shock based off max stat. Or stats at the time of cast. I think it's at the time of cast. It says for 10 seconds. So if you have high stats when you cast it, you keep the weapon spell match based on that. That's how I read it. So Silrauk, how you doing? Chance further reduced for every permanent pet you have active. Calculations present as chance based on 1% of each missing health, divided by 1 plus the number of permanent pets you have active. Oh, so you don't want to run this on a pet build, I see. But then again, you don't really want to run pets anyway. Most of the time. In PvP at least. Calculated defense. This passive causes you to gain a damage health that absorbs 30% of your max health for 0.5 seconds. Anytime you begin to activate a sorcerer ability or an ability with a cast time. If the shield fails to break, you grant you and your group members 3% weapon spell damage for 20 seconds. That's not too amazing. I think. I mean, it makes Dark Deal a lot better, and Dark Conversion, because now you get a damage shield when you start casting it. But meh. I don't think you need Dark Deal. Why would you run Dark Deal if you have this passive? That's kinda pointless, I think. Sphere of Influence. This passive causes your damage shield abilities to grant additional damage shield to the target for 3 seconds that absorbs up to 15% of their max health as damage. Scaling with 25% of the higher of your max magic or health. Up to 15% of their max health. 25% of your max magic or health. It's more of a support thing, I think. I don't think you want to run this. You want to run this too, most likely. Or this and Implosion thing. It's one of the two. Any short skill, other skills with cast times. Yeah, I wonder if it works with like ice stuff heavy attack. If that's if the heavy attack is counted. It could be good. Like every ice heavy you get damage health when you start to cast the heavy attack. Up to 30% of your max health, which is huge. Like let's say 40k. Let's say like 38k, something like that. In PvP minus 15%. You get 5.7k shield when you start casting. And then you get a damage shield when you finish the cast. And that could be decent. If it works with the ice heavies. And it's good for the group, right? From extra weapon spell elements. Heavy attack is most likely not counted as an ability. It is by most things in the game. For example, the Cyanide set procs from a heavy attack. It says on channeled ability, but Cyanide works. Warden getting Russian Shanglos with one class master is still insane. Yes. I think the Warden ones are probably the most broken. Sork, Poly... Actually, no, I don't know which one even. Poly Warden is the most broken. Templar has some really potentially good stuff as well. Like, this thing is broken defensively. I think like 600 at all times, alright. Maybe this is broken. Okay, Nightblade. Passive upgrades rank 2 of Hemorrhage to have a chance equal to your weapon critical chance to grant you 2 ultimate up to once every 3 seconds. Garbo. An eye for exploitation. This passive increases your weapon and spell damage by up to 1250, reduces your damage taken by up to 12%. Both based on your target's missing health. How does this... Okay, note this works for any effect that scales with weapon spell damage, meaning it can increase damage against low health enemies, increase healing against low health allies, including yourself. And reduce damage taken from low health enemies. Okay. I see. Yeah, I think you run this. 1250 on heals if you're low health is very impactful. And I think the other passives will suck, let's say. Increase your critical damage and healing by 15%, 7% against players. Ah, they added the player reduction there. Also increase your maximum potential critical damage and healing by 25%. Adds to normal cap of 125. I don't know. I don't know if Nightblade needed more burst damage, but I mean they're buffing every other class. Passive causes you to dodge incoming attacks for 1/3 of a second when activating Nightblade ability while bracing. I don't like this. I don't like the idea that you have to always block tap before casting a Nightblade ability. Dodging any attack through any means causes your attacker to take 5% increased damage for 5 seconds. Okay, they added some damage to it. But I don't know. Gonna have to test this, but I have a feeling it's gonna be too clunky. It's gonna be too clunky because of all travel times and delays in PvP, like desyncs and whatnot. It's a lot of undodgeable damage as well. 1/3 of a second, yeah, huge. Conservation of energy is still the most broken there. Yeah, easily. Infinite sustain. Shadows Balls. This passive upgrades rank 2 of transfer to double the ultimate you gain from it. 4 up from 2, while also granting the nearest 4 group members 250 magic and stamina and 1 ultimate upon activating. Okay, well, Nightblade ones suck. The Nightblade ones suck. Nightblade Goat already made a new forum thread. Oof. Do I wanna check that out after? Yeah, I don't like the Nightblade ones. Apocalypse, or how you doing? Hello. I think you'd probably go for evasive strands and eye for exploitation. So I don't think like, yes, you increase the crit cap, but you can also choose to not build around crit damage and build around proc damage instead. And then instead of getting this passive, you get a lot more survivability and 5% more damage on the target. For example. Doesn't matter, yeah, there's also a lot of people just reducing your crit damage by so much that it winds up not really mattering that you increase the cap. I think it's probably this one and this one, but I don't know. Looking at what other classes get, you're gonna struggle damage-wise on Nightblade. You are gonna struggle. Necromancer, nothing wasted. This passive upgrades rank 2 of corpse consumption to also... that's the passive that gives you ulti when you consume a corpse with 16-second cooldown. To also grant a stack of nothing wasted for 12 seconds every time you consume a corpse, up to 10 stacks max. Okay, so no cooldown. Am I reading this right? Nothing wasted increases your max health and weapon and spell damage by 2% per stack. That is giga strong, if you can keep them up. And you kinda can keep them up. On my Corpse Burster build, for example. You spam the Venom Skulls and drop the graveyards, Blast Spawns, drop the graveyards, you're automatically stacking up this passive. 12 seconds is enough time to keep it stacked. If the stacks reach their full duration, they instead lose 3 stacks and refresh, rather than losing all stacks. Okay, so you can't really gain full stacks, is what I'm understanding. But even then, it's still 16% max health and 16% weapon spell damage. That's really good. That is good against all of the burst damage that other classes get with the extra damage they get. So let's say you have like 40k health. Well, you don't have 40k before modifiers. It's gonna be additive with other health modifiers, but you can have like, let's say 34k, something like that. 5.4k max health as a 5-piece, and then you get more than a 5-piece in terms of weapon spell damage. And you have a lot of health scaling stuff as well. Interesting. Tempo 1 adds 650 damage, like landslide, Dragon damage, right? It's more than Dragon. Dragon is 330. It's 2 Dragons. But only to Templar abilities, so you're gonna have to build around it. Malevolent Promise. This passive upgrades rank 2 of corpse consumption to mark the... It's the same passive. To mark the closest non-player enemy to you with death stats for 6 seconds whenever you consume a corpse. So all the time, basically. Which allows you to use corpse consuming ability against them, so you can proc the corpse burster again. Guaranteed. Can occur once every 2 seconds. That makes corpse burster a lot more reliable. But it doesn't provide any other bonuses, right? It would buff the... all of these extra corpses, they would buff the Necro class script though, if you find a way to run it. Somehow. Consuming or replacing this effect triggers rank 2 of death cleaning. That's the sustain when something dies. Every 2 seconds you get... is it like 600 stamina magica? I mean, it's pretty good for sustain, this one. Not bad at all, but... I think this one is kind of locked in. Upgrades rank 2 of reusable parts to... That's when any of your summons dies. You also grant Lord of the Cycle for 25 seconds, increase your damage done by 1% for every 1% more current health percent you have compared to your enemy. Caps at 25%, 12% against players, still pretty good. 75% current health, your enemy has 50%, you would gain 25% damage against them, 12% if they're a player. Oh, you can't really stack this that easily, actually. So I think if... Wait, no, you can. If they're at 50% and you're at... No, it just stacks to... Never mind, it just stacks to 12. 25% difference is not huge. Yeah, this PTS cycle is gonna be interesting. Don't need to stack anything, you just HP... Yeah. 12% damage, I mean, it's decent. It's decent. I think this passive is stronger. You get more than 12% from all of this weapon spell damage. Pound of Flesh. This passive grants you a 1% chance when taking damage to restore 10% health and 5% of your missing stamina up to once every second. So they didn't nerf it. It's... They maybe even buffed it. Wasn't it like 5% of your health or some static number? Up to once every second. This chance increased by 1% for every 1% missing health you have. 50% health, you have 51% chance to activate this passive when taking damage. And you get more max health from this passive. So you get like 50k health, that's a 5k tulip heal every second, and you get stamina back, perma block. Yep. Seems balanced. At the Precipice. Passive activates when directly healing a target below 50% health. By the way, this is gonna fix the sustain issues on the Necro build I have. Now gonna get to 50% HP though. No, any burst then you get to 50%. Any burst you take, especially from all of this stuff. that they're adding. Passive activates when directly healing a target below 50% health, allows you to use a corpse-consuming ability against them within 10 seconds. Consuming or replacing this effect grants the target 2 ultimate. Can occur once every second. Okay. Necro build you got about to go crazy with this. Yeah, it's looking interesting, but you also have to play pure class, so you lose the draconic power, wings, and have to play different stuff. You lose minor berserk, minor courage, and you have to use the necro heal, but it's still worth it with the passives. To play the nastiest troll tank ever, I mean, is it really more broken than the Templar one? 8% at all times, you don't have to be low health. You get ulti. I think the Templar one is more broken. But you do get stamina from the Necro one. Yeah, this seems really strong. This one, I don't know. Maybe there's something you can do with this. You can apply tethers to your allies, but I don't know. DK. Okay, hopefully DK passives are a bit weaker, because DK did get reworked. Passive upgrades Landslide to also grant 1% potency to damage and healing done. And damage dealt strength per stack. 1% potency to damage and healing done, but you already have the damage. Means this bonus applies to base calculation of these events, causing it to become multiplicative with other bonuses. No, that's so it becomes so it is a pretty good buff to damage as well. Yeah, it's like it's multiplicative instead of additive. You have a lot of bonuses on DK that are personal damage done, which dilutes the effect of any further damage done percentage bonus you get. That kinda secretly makes this a bit stronger, but it's not really as strong as the other passives still, I think. It's not like it adds 10% damage. It probably adds like 5%, 6%, something like that. A Booming Voice. This passive upgrades rank 2 of Storm Voice to also grant 1 health, magicka, and stamina per ultimate spent for 10 seconds. Huh? I'm confused. You get 500 health, magicka, and stamina per ultimate spent. You spend 500 ulti, you get... No, this has to be a typo. This is terrible. Or it's like per second, but you don't really need that with Heart of Flame. This passive is not it. Wildfire Embers. Passive upgrades your Dragonknight's damage over time effects to apply to enemies. That apply to enemies, Searing Strike, Dragonfire Breath, Burning Talons, Tether Spike Mantle. To apply unique 12-second damage over time effect on enemies whenever the trigger in the abilities end. Damage effect stacks up to 12 times, increasing by 25% per stack. Past one, up to 275%. I wonder how strong this is. Oh, it says base damage is 10.5% of your weapon spell damage, 1% of your and 1% of your max magic and stamina. So let's say you have like around 6k and you have around 30k magicka. So tooltip would be 630 plus 1% of 30k plus 300. You would have 1k tooltip base plus 275. 3.7 per second. That's a very strong dot. But it takes time to stack. But because it's a stacking thing, Emboys, thank you for the follow. Because it's a stacking thing, that also means that it probably makes cleansing very annoying. Maybe it's like Relican or General in that sense. Which I think makes it even stronger if it works like that. Like, sure, it can be cleansed, but you make other things uncleansable. Damage-wise, that's Relican. You get a free Relican. Though you need to spend a bit more time stacking it. Or you spam Dragonfire Breath and it just stacks because you refresh the buff. You don't have to wait for it to run out. Which is how I think it works. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, it says here, ending case means natural expiring, being recast early, or being cleansed. Also, if they cleanse your other dots, then this one stacks up, and then you have to cleanse the thing that you stacked up. Lovely. That's gonna be not annoying at all when fighting DKs. Resolute defense, this passive increase the amount of... I say annoying, but I think it's good, by the way. I think it's a very interesting option. Resolute defense, this passive increase the amount of damage you can block by 6% every second. You remain bracing up to 30%. Blocking has 20% chance to restore 500 stamina up to once every 250 milliseconds. Okay, I mean, it's not super amazing for PvP, but... Lead from the front. This passive upgrades rank 2 of the Storm Voice to also apply Major Berserk and Protection. They remove the Major Heroism. For 1 second per 15 ultimate spent to you and group members within 28 meters of you. You have Change given Major Berserk already. So that kind of devalues Major... the Gap Closer. So maybe drop the Gap Closer, use this passive, it buys you a bar slot, and then you run the dot passive if you play normal DK. If you play Koro build, then poly this one and this one. Because when you cast Koro, you get Major Berserk and Major Protection. Maybe that's the way you want to play. So this sounds terrible. This passive. Okay, Arcanist is Riot here. This is his class. Abyssal Emergence. Passive upgrades your Arcanist ultimates to immediately generate 3 crux upon activation. Well, okay, so they didn't change this at all. Interesting. So you can drop the I ultimate, for example, and immediately... But you can already do that. You can already build up the crux. Maybe now you can Tentacle, drop the ulti, and then Tentacle again. That's a thing you can do. But I mean, 666 weapon spell damage also. I mean, it's pretty good, I think. It's pretty good. Maybe enable some combos. Passive upgrades rank 2 of Impeccable Outcome to also generate 3 crux upon activation. This when you spend crux, like you can just get back-to-back crux. And you get 300 weapon spell damage, a bit less than the other one. Or is that he's got main shield support? Oh, yeah, I mean, on shield support is probably could be good too. Unbound Potential. Passive upgrades rank 2 of Fated Fortune to also increase your damage down by 30%, 15% against players. Okay, that's just plus 15% damage at all times. Basically, that's the passive that gives you crit when you generate crux, I think, or spend crux. It's pretty much always up, this passive. %15% is quite a lot, especially if you get another 666 weapon spell damage. Passive upgrades Fate Woven Armor to also grant 1 ultimate and 300 magic and stamina when you take damage. Increasing by 100 magic and stamina per crux you have up to once every 2 seconds. That's broken. That's kind of like the Warden passive earlier. Like, you don't run out of resources anymore with this one. You don't need Heart of Flame for sustain, for example. So maybe you run this one, and I don't know if you run this one, 15% against players. Passive enables to generate crux when you heal or overheal a total of 750k health while in combat. Okay, well, who cares? When you heal, it's not when you shield. That's stupid. I don't know what I would pick here. I mean, if you need sustain, you pick this one. It's also just ulti every 2 seconds. But you probably pick this for max damage, right? Or maybe you pick these two and you skip the damage stun. So this is also damage stun, the 300 weapon spell elements. It's not 15%, but it's still like 5%. You can just spam tentacles and or the rune wards with that. There's some interesting options for Arcanist. Okay, Werewolf. There's a lot in these patch notes, holy. YG, how you doing? I think the changes are in place for the overland difficulty changes. The Class Mastery ones? No. They're because people are very not fans of subclassing, myself included. I don't like subclassing too much. So they added these to incentivize people to not subclass. They kind of made it so that you never want to subclass though, I think. These are kind of insane. Hey Indy, how you doing? How's Nightblade and Warden looking? Warden absolutely fucking bonkers. So you have infinite sustain if you run Green Balance, because they made this passive also apply to yourself. The Nature's Gift one, and you get 1665 weapon spell damage, pretty much at all times, based on target's debuffs. And then you get the another 15% weapon spell damage. So you have vines that give you infinite sustain and vines that have like fucking 5k tooltip on the hill. Very balanced. And Nightblade kinda garbo. I don't think the Nightblade ones are that great. You probably pick evasive trance and eye for exploitation. You can get some big heals when low health, but I don't know. It doesn't seem too amazing to me. But you need to sustain, lock in, sub against DK, spam in shattering. Don't need to sustain really. Subclasses should have never happened. Yeah, but they're like soft rolling it back with these changes. By the way, this one 750,000 health. That's crazy. You generate 1 crux when you heal for that. I think this number is ridiculous. This should be like 75,000. There's like 1 0 too much here. And even 75k is maybe a bit too much. Werewolf. Werewolf experience has been updated alongside the Combat Refresh initiative, updating almost all of its combat effects in some capacity. At its core, we've made sweeping changes that should align towards making the transformation more fluid, easier to sustain and manage, with more overall potential build, craft and support. Added a new Brawl mechanic, which replaces crouch while transformed. Brawl costs 5.1k stamina to activate. Grants 6 seconds of 66% reduced aggression radius, which will require you to be close to them before they notice you attack. Imagine if this works in PvP, where you get like stealth until you get close to enemies. It is not gonna work like that, but that would be cool. Like a unique sneak mechanic for a werewolf. And stealth detection, equal to same strength as detection potion. Holy. Yeah, Nightblades. Have fun next patch. Everyone's gonna be a werewolf. Everyone's gonna just crouch and insta-detect you. Or maybe everyone's not gonna be a werewolf, but there's gonna be a lot of people testing out the changes. Hey, Strapsos, how you doing? What's that mean? Overheal 750k at once or 750k total? I think 750k total, kinda like the recovery con. But it just generates a crux. I don't think that's too strong. When you heal or overheal. I don't know about that one. 3-second cooldown on activating Brawl to prevent excessive stamina loss. Okay, I mean that's a good addition, I think. Brawl does not have a unique animation, instead overrides your character's posture to begin to sniff around it. It will blend out while attacking, okay. Only some PV thing, yeah, most likely. Added a slaughter mechanic, which is a new synergy that becomes active against targets that you would normally be able to use Blade of Foe or Vampire Feed against. So it doesn't affect PvP. Have to experiment to see for yourself what it entails. It is largely meant as a fun first experience, rather than in-combat decision-making tool. Quite potent in the higher difficulties of challenge mode, however. Imagine if this gives you some giga damage buff, and you use this in Imperial City. That's my first thought when I read this. It says, okay, it doesn't work in PvP, but what if it does? In some environments. Someone linked this. It's in the pin message. But here you go. Is the kill pass mega buff maybe? Yeah, imagine if you can abuse that in PvP in Imperial City. Werewolf transformation. This ultimate and its morphs have been largely reworked in regards to how they function to cast and manage. These ultimates now only require 100 ultimate to activate. That's not a lot, that's less than half of it, what it used to be. But will continue to drain 100 ultimate every 10 seconds while they are active. Failing to have 100 ultimate when the cost per tick occurs will forcibly de-transform you. Cost to maintain transformation is now completely disabled outside of combat to help mitigate the need to constantly engage in combat. So you still have it in BGs basically, and Zero Duel, because you're stuck in combat. Ultimate generation is no longer disabled while transformed, making it the primary method of sustaining your form. Interesting. So 100 ultimate every 10 seconds. You need 10 ulti per second. But there's probably some other ways to stay in Werewolf, right? Completely restricted the back end of the transformation, resulting in all Werewolf effects and passives to only apply while transformed. All Werewolf effects and passives to only apply while transformed. Oh, because people would heal with the Werewolf thing. And a college dissertation level of data structuring changes, rather than applying permanently and constantly checking if you're in Werewolf form. Should have no observable changes in behavior unless called out otherwise in further sections. Lastly, non-player facing only aims at helping cut down on combat calculations for Werewolf characters. Saved 15 whole effects, which is new records. Okay, cool. However, if you experience issues where you lose access to passives or other effects while in Werewolf form, please let us know. Transforming into a werewolf no longer increases your maximum stamina by 30%. Instead, all werewolf abilities that scale with maximum with stamina or magicka will now be 30% more dense in their scaling, allowing for similar levels of combat power as before, without the added bonus of having a deeper resource pool. That is, by itself, that is kind of a nerf, because you have less max stam to dodge all of it, and you have the more or less the same damage, right? But let's see what else they changed here. Also nerfs any interaction with a max stat scaling set. There's quite a few of those. Reduce the poison damage taken while transformed to 10% down from 25%. I don't think this is a good change. I think having a counter to things is usually healthy. And this reduces the potency of the counter. Not a huge fan of that. Werewolf stamina costing abilities aside from the core combat mechanics such as block, bash, dodge or prowl now cost 1/3 of their ability category counterpart, rather than costing 25% more. That's a massive sustain buff. That's crazy. Done to help open more potential build opportunities for non-stamina damage dealers to utilize Werewolf. Oh yeah, you also don't need to be a stam build because you don't get max stam, you get nothing. Interesting. Also adding to the sensation that this ultimate is a transformation that makes you more powerful in some capacity. Cost is now almost exclusively on maintaining the form, rather than the form and your normal resources, helping simplify its combat loop, letting you focus on the focus while the beast is unleashed. Werewolf combat actions no longer see a 15% damage increase in their scaling. We'll cover this more in its ability, but fear not, werewolves are stronger than they were before in most cases, with some other adjustments. Free sustain for everyone. Yeah, this is just passive sustain though. We'll see how it plays out. Like, right now you need to build around sustain a lot, which means that you have to do it, but because you do it, you don't have a lot of damage as a werewolf. Now you don't have to do it, so you can just focus on the max damage instead. A unique bar that activates while in werewolf form has been reworked to house a new mechanic called Fury. Interesting, I like this. I like having unique resource or like class mechanics. In this case, werewolf mechanic. This is interesting. Unique resource that generates from activating werewolf abilities while in combat. Those up to 1000 and each ability activate grants 15 at base. Okay. Fury does not decay, but leaving werewolf form will result in losing all build-up fury. Morphs and passives both can expedite the amount of fury generated, or can even add more forms of generating it. While you have 1000 fury, your ultimate ability will be replaced with rampage. Morphs and passives, okay. Activate Rampage drains all fury and grants you a 20-second window of increased power, increase your move speed by 20%, damage done by 15%, removes the cost of all werewolf abilities, including the transformation. So you just have 0 costs on heal, on dodge soul. Oh, on dodge soul still you would have that, but you already have like almost no cost after this change. Oh, including the transformation, you can stay in the werewolf form easier. Activating Rampage will temporarily disable your ability to activate werewolf transformation again, to create the sensation of loss of control of this inner beast. Oh, so you can't like click the ultimate to go out of werewolf. That's fine. You don't want to do that anyway. Wolf has like 40 unique mechanics now. That's good. I love that. Not so bad. Avu was super dead and ass. Still ass, but better. We'll see. We'll see. As well as making it harder to accidentally activate and immediately lose the effect if you input the button multiple times and detransform. Interesting, interesting. Werewolf light decks no longer have their base damage capped at 4813 like other light decks, in efforts to help add more damage potential while transformed. Okay. Is it the Blood Moon angle? Might be. Let's see what else they change. But, Werewolf Berserker. This morph now grants major berserk while transformed. Ooh, free 10% damage. Update the bleed from this morph to apply on light and heavy attacks rather than only light attacks. Nice. Bleed now appears to stack up to 5 times in total. Upon reaching 5 stacks, the 1 second delay will be removed, allowing you to deal much more consistent damage while sticking to target. They nerfed the damage, right? Surely they nerfed the damage. Hold on. Build editor. Werewolf, let's find it. Let's pull into the last page. If I can find it. Werewolf Sork, is it this one? There's probably some outdated one. Oh no, it's the correct one. Okay, so we have the werewolf here. That bleed right now on live is 5k per second. 20k bleed damage over 4 seconds. Now the heavies will apply it in AoE, and it stacks 5 times. No, they nerfed it, right? Stacks do not augment damage or duration. Oh, so they do not grant you damage, but once you have it fully stacked, every light deck will instantly deal the bleed damage, kind of like how Relican works, for example. So it's still a pretty big buff. But okay, it's not that crazy, it's not 25k damage per second, because that would be kind of broken. Bleed no longer fails to reapply if it's already active. Oh, that was the thing? I didn't know that. I mean, the first few light decks will result in a damage decrease, while drastically increasing beyond. Wait, what does this mean, damage decrease? Reduce the duration of the bleed to 3 seconds, down from 4, that's whatever. Reduce the damage scaling by 35.5%, okay, so they reduce the damage. 35.5 on the weapon spell damage, and 16% for the magic and stamina. But it's over the 3 seconds. So maybe it's still the same? Hold on. So I have 6k and 30k, let's say. Of course we can build for more damage after these changes, but 6k minus 35.5 would be 2.1. And 4.8. Wait, what was the again? You're getting like, is it like 6k per second? That's a buff. If it's per second. Or if it's over 3 seconds, that's probably a small nerf. I don't know. I need to test this. Need to see the tooltip in game. Well, my math is not strong enough. Heavy attacks in this form no longer create an area of effect in a cone around the target. Okay, so no AoE bleeds, I see. Well, that kinda sucks. Mofna also improves Devour, which will be explained in the passive section. Okay. Interesting. This Mofna increased the amount of damage you can block by 30%. What the fuck? It's like having Zero Banes. Do we do Pack Leader now? And grants major protection while transformed, rather than unique 10% damage reduction. Continues to spawn 2 direwolves and grants you and nearby group members minor courage. Morph now also improves Rampage to Enduring Rampage, which adds 4000 health recovery to base effects. Okay, it's a 2k heal in PvP, worst case scenario, but probably like 3k. Or 4k even, depends on the modifiers. Adjusted the attack speed of the direwolves to happen at a more consistent pace rather than going in between erratically fast and slow attacks. Fixed an issue where the damage of the direwolves did not dynamically scale with your offensive stats. Oh, so that was bugged. Fixed an issue where the damage done was missing rank up progression built-in, resulting in 3.3% damage increase. Add some minor variants to their attacks so they do not perfectly attack in unison. Feel less like a hive mind entity. More like wolves fighting in a pack. It's gonna be interesting. Let's see what the Devour does, but this seems like a very valid option. If you can just permablock, spam the now cheaper burst heal. Nothing but decay and werewolf circs everywhere. What's up, Akinus? I mean, some of the class mastery passives are kinda strong as well. It's gonna be an interesting patch for sure. Lot to unpack here, so we'll start with our overall intentions and design philosophies. Our goals for the Werewolf refresh are relatively simple. Improve the user flow of entering, sustaining and playing as a werewolf, while updating it to something that has more build potential. The experience is meant to be different from other combat options, good, while still being familiar enough to approach and play. Originally the form introduced many stipulations that acted as overrides to rules, while the updated form should instead feel like augments to the rules. Rather than overriding your ultimate and disabling that mechanic completely while introducing a new one, it now hooks into existing ultimate loop, while also gaining access to an ultimate level ability while transformed. Additionally, there are many more added effects that help reduce the high demand and stress of sustaining werewolf, such as the out of combat cost removal, new rampage effect, and a few other hidden effects we've added for you to find. Is anyone hungry? All these changes hopefully culminate into a more liberating transformation rather than a limiting one. To improve the build diversity side of things, we're also looking at few core interactions to see where the existing limits were created. Originally, Werewolf was stamina focused, as abilities costed an exorbitant amount of stamina and magicka. The heal is super strong but also super expensive. Despite their abilities mostly dynamically scaling, this created a lopsided experience that made playing a stamina build vastly superior, which made the transformation even less accessible to for build types. We've shifted away from both of these stipulations by significantly reducing the stamina drain of active werewolf abilities. The focus is now on sustaining the form rather than the form and abilities, and instead baking the power of that massive stamina increase into stat scaling of their abilities, meaning both magic and stamina are effectively increased by their original amounts, without the added effects of actually adjusting to your character stats. Okay. So far so good. So far so good. Vamp refresh when? Yeah, they need to redo Vamp as well. Give back the old mist form. Also looked at morph engagement and tried to improve the split between the two dominant build focuses, full-on aggression builds and bruisers. That's the only good way to play werewolf. I will die on that hill. More chunky survivable damage deal? No. No. Throw that in the trash bin and ship the fucking trash bin to overseas or something. Do not play that. That's... No. Morphs now have more stark differences between what they do for the most part. Either granting more outright damage production, adding utility or survivability upgrades, or adding more mechanical complexity to their base abilities. Our other focus for the Werewolf refresh was the combat flow of what it means to play as a werewolf. The Werewolf's ability bar override removes the access to bar swap, which introduces a more digestible but ultimately simpler combat flow. It is often seen as a positive and a negative. Yes, we looked at what these abilities closely to try and retain the good parts of that simplicity, while also working on trying to flesh out a bit more depth to improve the negative aspects. At its core, the Werewolf experience is still pretty straightforward, being a big brutal badass. Jumping into the fight, prioritizing speed and aggression, good. Chasing your prey with relentless attacks are all still there, good. That's what I like about Werewolf. It's very hit and run, fast-paced kind of playstyle. However, we've re-evaluated some of our original stipulations to these abilities to try and make them a bit more user-friendly, while also trying to ensure each button press has more than one context in which you'd want to use it in. In some cases, such as bounce, that means completely dividing the ability to two separate states. When targeting faraway enemies, it swaps to the get closer ability. When targeting enemies in melee range, it becomes the melee damage over time ability. That's really good. It's very clunky at the moment. Both the same abilities as before, but with more dynamic experience that gives you what you need in the context of the moment. Also, did we do a shoutout for Mr. Akinos? Not yet, I think. The Necro Goat. Definitely gonna make some OP things on Necro. With the changes. Already run 12-man Werewolf and 12-man DK Zergs. Gonna get way worse. We'll see. I think there's some pretty broken shit. Was in BG? No worries. Lethal mode is lacking. Yes. Where was I? Other abilities such as Roar now have multiple outcomes that cover a larger array of effects to offer more utility and reasons to press the button. Roar continues to operate as your primary crowd control, while also being a support function by housing the Feeding Frenzy synergy. And still having solo play application by granting you Blood Hunger, an effect that amplifies some of your other Werewolf abilities. Interesting. These updates should all help improve your overall combat effectiveness, while adding some additional nuance and mastery to the experience. Okay. Bounce and Carnage, these abilities and their morphs now dynamically update themselves based on your distance from your target, rather than requiring to activate Bounce, then locking you into activating Carnage for 5 seconds after. Bounce is only available when you are greater than 7 meters to a target, while Carnage takes over when you are 7 meters or closer to a target. Note that this will result in only Carnage displaying on your hotbar when you hover over it, outside of the skill system, as you are the context of the target. Your skillbook will always display Bounce. Reduce the cost of Bounce and it morphs to 1071, down from 4016. Holy. That's quite a cost reduction. Trian, how you doing? Is Orc passive mega bad? No. What do you mean? What do you mean? 2% max stats and 10% of your max health on any ability cast? Nah, that's broken. That's infinite sustain. And infinite dodge rolls as well. It's both resources, right? You'll see. Adjusted the damage of Bounce to 0.63 weapon or spell damage, or 0.78 magic or stamina. Rather than 0.78 and 0.75. So they nerfed the damage a little bit. That's the gap low spot. Raise the cost of Carnage and it morphs to 995, down from 2000. Reduce damage per tick to 0.09 weapon or spell damage and 0.011 magic or stamina rather than 0.098. So small nerf again. Increase base duration, okay. A Brutal Bounce and Carnage. Increase the radius of these abilities to 7 meters, up from 5. Brutal Carnage damage over time now stacks up to 3 times, increasing by 10 seconds per stack. Oh, so it's kind of like a Carve. Rather than granting stacking weapon spell damage when hitting enemies. Okay. So you can stack a long duration bleed. It's not really that big of a deal in PvP though. Feral Bounce and Carnage. This morph now grants 200 stamina each time either portion of the ability deals damage, rather than granting 100 stamina and 1 second of Werewolf timer. So either portion of the ability, so the dot is gonna give you 200 stam every second. Ducking, how you doing? Shock passive got nerfed, was 1000 stamina magic per cast. Yeah, but it's still broken. I showed it earlier. So if you have like even let's say 30k, and you get 2% of that every cast, that's 600 magic and stamina every ability you use. So if your spammable has 2.2k cast cost, for example, that's the average cost. Basically, you now have 1600. That's more cost reduction than you get from 2 5-piece sets, if you were to slot 5-piece cost reduction sets. That's more than you get from, let's say like Soul Cleaver would be 21%. And that's 462, so you get insane amount of sustain from that. And healing, because 10% heal every cast too. Do you need more regen or Sork? No, you do, because you don't want to run Dark Deal or Dark Conversion. I think that ability is bad. Maybe you do with the shield one, if you can cast the... if you can get like a damage shield when you start casting Dark Deal, but I don't know. Don't think it's worth, personally. Some of these masters seem a little insane, a little bit. Just a little bit. So this one, 200 stamina every second, or every time the dot ticks. Whenever either version of this morph deals damage, it will also trigger a Fury generation. Addition to Fury generated for activating it. Up to once every 4 seconds. Allows feral bounce to generate it twice per cast. Either version of this morph. Allows feral bounce to generate it twice per cast. Feral carnage to generate it... Oh, okay, I see. I see. So the return is also going to return Fury after a couple of seconds. So the initial cast gives you Fury, and then after a few seconds you get Fury again when you generate stamina or recover stamina with it. Interesting. I think this one is the better move. Or maybe not. 7 meter range up from 5. That's also a pretty nice buff. No, I think you pick this one for the sustain and the additional Fury generation. So you have a gap closer, you just cast it right after gap closing, you always should be able to cast it. Making this ability and its 2 forms significantly more straightforward to use by having them automatically update to the effect you need in the moment. When you to close the distance, the bounce variant of the ability will take over and allow you to leap to your enemy, while the carnage variant will be available when you are within melee range of your foe. Also slightly adjusting the morph differences to be less about raw damage versus utility and going into 2 forms of utility. Both of which have the potential for damage. Brutal Bounce and Carnage remain better for area of effect damage, and Carnage saves on global cooldowns, letting you experience a more simplified rotation. Oh, because you can stack the bleed, I see. That's like easier to use, and this one is more power, but you have to keep up the dot, and you basically pick the better move. Especially if you plan on using one of the rework morphs of Raining Claws. Okay, I mean, we'll have to see that. Feral Bounce aids in stamina management through block and helps you activate Rampage more frequently. It grants a large damage steroid. Dexstars, thank you for the follow. Thank you. Since Bounty, this is the OP heal. Reduce the healing of this ability by 8%. It's still OP. You can reduce it by 8%, it's still gonna be giga strong. I think it's 60% of your max health at the moment. So in PvP this is a 16.2k tooltip with 30k health. So instead of 60%, you're gonna have 55%. It's not the end of the world. Especially when you reduce the cost by 1.4k, I think that's a good trade-off. It's gonna be a lot more sustainable. The ability and Hero's rates now restore 10% of your maximum stamina, increasing by 1% for every 1% current health you have, up to a maximum of 20% stamina after the heal. Oh no. I don't know if I like the idea of a perma block werewolf. So what this does is it allows you to use turn the magicka into stamina, and then you get 30% block mitigation with the other werewolf morph. I don't think that that is balanced. Oh, this morph now adds major vitality while slotted, so you don't even lose any healing. Oh wait, no, that's the morph. Let's see what the... So you don't have to be full health to get the stam either. That's a big buff. For every 1% current health you have. 10% of your max stamina increasing by... Oh, so you always get 10% of your max stamina. After max... Okay, that's broken. That is absolutely broken. You will need the stam though. Right now you do. On life you do. On PTS not sure. But you can always turn stamina into blocking or dodging. You can permablock with this. If you build for max reason and you spam the heal, and you get 20% of your max stam back, like 30k stam, that's kinda broken. Resistance 42, reduce the healing of this morph by 19%. Now increase the stamina restored to 12% of your max stamina at base, increase by 1% up to 24% max stam, adds major vitality, return granting minor fortitude and endurance for 20 seconds. No, I think that's bad. You gain 12% healing receipt, but you lose so much of the base tooltip that I don't think it's worth it. Even if you get more stamina back. Here since Rage, this morph now heals based on your offensive stats. Wait, you want to run the non-morphed version of the heal, really? Or maybe this is still worth it, I don't know, need to test it. I don't know why they nerfed the healing on this. Like either nerf the base tooltip or... Oh, right, it gained... Like right now it gives you extra healing when you morph it. So it's gonna be the same as the base, but you gain more stam basically, and major vitality. So it is quite a big nerf then, in that case. You go from 60% to like 50% of your max health. Still better than Bolamind, but it's a big nerf. Now heals based on your offensive stats rather than max health, healing 70% weaker than a traditional burst heal, such as Rust Ceremony. Oh, so you can never survive with this? This is your only heal, or maybe they added some other ones, but... Now increase your damage done and taken for 12 to 15 seconds. Okay, so this is just a suicide morph. Based on how high your current health percentage is. But then apply major berserk, increase your damage taken by 10 to 7%. If you were at full health while casting. Morph now also generates double fury on activation, adds minor berserk while slotted. You get a lot of damage, but do you want to heal for less and have a weak heal and take a lot of damage? Not sure. Yeah, this is the Devil Soul morph. What's up, Devil? Maybe if you dodge soul a lot, you can use this. If you can just spam dodge souls and play like very damage avoidance type of way, maybe you could use this, but I'm gonna have to test it. It's interesting though, interesting options. Toning down on how much raw healing this ability and morphs can do while simultaneously adding more purpose to the button press for resource management for tanks in PvP encounters. Now rather than being a binary heal versus restore, it will grant both. Will reward you in similar situations, granting more resource while at higher health. Resistance 42 sees a decrease in the initial healing, but gains the potential to be healed significantly more while in groups. Or using other effects and morphs. Or because you have the healing taken, so other people heal you for more. Helping out the tankier bats, while Resistance Rage continues to focus on the offensive nature, but with a healthier balance. As both the bonuses and the punishment degrade as you weaken, while also healing more effectively for damage dealers. Oh, right, so you don't have the debuff if you don't heal yourself. So you can kinda choose, if you heal at low health, then you're gonna be tankier. If you heal at max health, yeah, it's maybe not that bad. Even though it increases your damage taken. Interesting. Very interesting. Aurora. This ability and morphs is the CC. Have 350 millisecond cast time before they apply their effects to help better line up their animations to their outcomes. Fixing issues where you would be feared. Hopefully they increase the radius. So right now it's instant, which allows you to land it a lot easier. In PvP. Fixing issues where you would be feared before even seeing the animation. Increase the radius. Yes, good. Thank you, Sos. Thank you. Increase the radius to 10 meters up from 7. This more than makes up for the increased delay. It's an unblockable, undodgeable stun, by the way. AoE. Also applies major beats. Kinda OP. If you could use it outside of Werewolf. Reduce the cost to 1k. Okay, 1k cost on your CC, nice. CCs are usually very expensive. Not this one. Definitely not this one. Oh yeah. Disability and Smurfs now apply a stack of Blood Hunger for 30 seconds, stacking up to 4 times. Blood Hunger empowers Nash, previously Piercing Hull, and Claw Fury, previously Claws of Anguish, to deal additional damage. This ability is no longer applied Terrified. It's effectively an easier to use form of that mechanic with more interplay within their kit. This ability and Smurfs are now home of the Feeding Frenzy synergy, rather than being placed on the Owl of Despair morph. Feeding Frenzy is granted up to 12 nearby allies for 10 seconds within the radius of your roar. Feeding Frenzy now lasts 30 seconds up from 20, and increase damage done by 6% increase instead of granting Empower. Ooh, well that's a good synergy now. Maybe you want a werewolf in PvE. So that's just a synergy for everyone. 12 nearby allies, plus 6% damage done. Nice, I like this. Maybe I become a werewolf main in PvE. Synergy continues to grant minor force as well. Nice. You can also use the synergy yourself, I think. Unless they change that. I don't have the morph, because you don't want to run it on live. So you want the Major Breach morph. But now you get it on the base skill, so you automatically have it. But I believe you could use the synergy yourself. Know how much Desi loves suicidal ganker players. Oof. I mean, at least you can see them come in if they're werewolves. Unless they're werewolves with invis spots. In which case, shame on you. Oh right, this also gives major protection currently. Oh, also it's not on this skill, it's on the hull. You or an ally can activate this energy. So get the minor force from that, but you kinda want to run this one usually. Already have minor force from the Oaken. Now you might not want to run Oaken. You get minor force and a lot of the other buffs. Deafening Roar. This morph now also applies Major Maim and Cowardice to enemies hit for 12 to 15 seconds. Major Maim and Cowardice. Rather than Major Breach and Minor Maim for 7 to 10 seconds. Passive slot for this morph now grants Major Evasion and Minor Protection rather than Major Protection. Ooh. So you run this with backlit, you're gonna be disgustingly tanky. You have like all the major buffs to reduce damage and the person block mitigation. Purchasing this morph will automatically upgrade your Nash and morphs, rework of Piercing Owl to also taunt the enemy if the ability was cast while bracing. Making taunting more deliberate and less dangerous compared to the previous slot passive of Heavy Attack into Taunt. So you can play Avu tank. Interesting. Which class for Werewolf though? Depends if how the passives interact, if they change that. Need to test that on PTS. Ferocious Roar. This morph now also applies major crits to you and 11 nearby allies for 20 seconds. Allows you to use your own synergy and grants 2 stacks of Blood Hunger on cast. Rather than increasing the speed of your heavy attacks by 33%. How do you get the Major Breach now? Maybe they added it to something else. But I think Major crits versus Major... No, you run this one on in PvP as well. Would be crazy not to. Like, sure, Major Courage is nice. But... Oh, well, Major Courage and Minor Force. But you get Minor Force from Oaken. You have to run this in PvP, right? Major Maim and Major Cowardice from the same button click with a CC. And passively grants you major evasion and minor protection. You have to run this. Like, that's not even a question. I don't think you run this one. Making Roar and its morphs the home of the Feeding Frenzy synergy in efforts to make the effect more easily accessible, while also adding a little incentive to bringing the pack to groups with unique damage bonus. Additionally, we're improving the Terrified mechanic into Blood Hunger. It can now stack for multiple uses, helping reward a more diverse rotation in PvE and PvP, while also being easier to use at the baseline. Blood Hunger isn't completely exclusive to Roar either, as the effect can now be referenced by other morphs, for those who are looking to sink their teeth into more complicated rotations. This should help keep Werewolf experience simpler, but with some added forms of mastery for those who find themselves hungering for more. Piercing Owl, Nas. So it's now a melee ability, I believe. Ability and morphs have been completely reworked into a melee 7 meters, driven double bite attack 2 hits, rather than a 10 meter projectile howl attack. Hey Onion, how you doing? And Blake, how you doing? Hello. What's up? We're going through the patch notes. There's a lot of crazy stuff. So we have less radius on the spammable. Now scales with 0.525 of your weapons or spell damage and 0.65 of your magical stamina twice, rather than singular 0.31 and 0.25. So it's a nerf to the damage, but you probably gain more damage from all of the other things here. Initial hit deals physical damage, while the second hit deals bleed damage. Okay. You already kind of proc bleed all the time, or hemorrhaging. Both attacks have 10% chance of applying their respective stage effects, so you get minor bleeds more easily. That's good. Nice. Second hit happens after 0.4 seconds, no cast time, so it can be animation cancelled with no loss. Interesting. That's really interesting. So you can cast the ability, and then like you get the first hit, and 400 milliseconds after you get the second hit. And deals 200% bonus damage to targets under 25% health. So you have an execute with this ability too. One or more Blood Hunger are active, the initial hit deals 25% bonus damage, and 1 stack is consumed. So that makes it way stronger. Oh, initial hit only. Okay, never mind. And it's basically free, 765 stam, down from 2.9. Howl of Agony, Bloody Nash. This morph now adds a 50% chance when benefiting from Blood Hunger to not consume a stack. Some RNG morph. Morph also upgrades the second hit to always apply the hemorrhaging stage effect. Morph no longer increases damage done against off-balance targets or reduces in cost as it ranks up. Howl of Despair, Rip and Tear. This morph upgrades the first hit to always apply the standard stage effect. I think this is better if you run the light attack bleed morph of Werewolf. 100%. As well as inflicting major bleeds. Okay, so you basically run this. This morph might as well not exist. Rip and Tear it is. The second hit heals you for what the fuck? For 0.27 of your max health? 27%? No. Oh, it's 0. Okay, so that's not a big heal. Ranks up by 1.1% per rank if it hits. Blood Hunger's 25% increase applies to both the base hit and the healing effect for this morph. This morph no longer grants access to Feeding Frenzy as it has been moved to Roar. Well, I think the morph choice here is a bit easy. I don't think we need to think about that too much. In PvE you run this one, I think. You run Bloody Nash. This is the PvP one. Werewolves have finally learned to put their jaws to use with this new spammable, draining flesh from their foes with a much more brutal 2-part attack. Gone are the days of angrily yelling at your opponents to death. Nash operates as both your standard fare single target spammable and an execute both in one, helping make up for Werewolf's bar space deficit while leaning into their fantasy of masters of the hunt. Hunter who cannot finish off their prey often returns empty-handed after all. This helps werewolves become significantly more terrifying to low health foes, while giving them reason to stick closer to their enemies and make use of their speed boosts in melee range. The morphs once again split with more diversity, granting 2 utility-driven effects that can both lead to more damage, but more of an option between damage and survivability. I need some water again. Too much yapping. The previous iteration of Terrified has also been reworked to Bloodhunger. Okay, we already read about that. Infectious Claws, this is the AoE, current undodgeable, kinda hard-hitting AoE, has spammable tooltip on life. Use this more than the Owl at the moment. Rending Claws, this ability and Claws of Life Morph have been adjusted to deal physical damage on their initial hit, and bleed damage for their overtime effect. Okay. Rather than dealing disease damage on both hits. Reduce the initial hits weapon and spell damage scaling by 20%, so less of a spammable, but you have a better spammable now. Hey Dennis, how you doing? Merhaba Kades. Increased its magic and stamina scaling by 4%. Interesting. Damage over time now lasts for 10 seconds, down from 20. Increased the weapon and spell damage scaling by 92%, and the magic and stamina scaling by 150%. So the dot hits a lot harder now. Its ability and its morphs now have a target cap of 6 rather than hitting all enemies. Okay. The initial hit now has a 15% chance of applying Sundered, and the damage over time has 5% chance of applying Hemorrhaging, rather than the initial hit applying Diseased and the damage over time having a 1%. Interesting. I mean, that's gonna make the dot tick even harder, because when it procs the dot, that's an instant tick, so even if you have the dot already, it's still beneficial. Hey, Oisok, how you doing? Hello. Claws of Anguish, Claw Fury. This morph has been reworked into a channeled attack that deals direct physical damage over 4.8 seconds. Oh, so you have a channeled playstyle on Werewolf as well now. Hitting up to 6 enemies goes to you in 7-meter cone with 90-degree arc, up to 13 times. Wait a second. How many hits per second is that? Oh, 2.7? But it's an AoE. Imagine this with like Dragon's Appetite or Draukin or something. That's a lot of damage potentially. Claw Fury generates Fury and stack of Bloodhunger up to once every second while dealing damage with the ability. Claw Fury scales with 0.48 weapon spell damage. What's the metapatic? So if you have, let's say 6k, still a lot of damage, right? It's per tick. Wait, what did I do? Oh, times 488. So you do 3k, 10k per second in AoE. It's like the decay breath. Roughly. And increased by 25% for each stack of Bloodhunger you have. So if you have full Bloodhunger, that's kind of like the DK Fire Breath. Claw Fury ends in any capacity, all stacks of Bloodhunger are removed. Interesting. So you could have a like kind of like a normal DK, kind of like a normal werewolf with the spammable, or you could do a channel playstyle with this, build around the Bloodhunger. Claws of Life, Blood Claws. This morph now heals for 40% of the initial hit damage done, rather than not healing at all on the initial hit. Okay, it's a decent heal, I think. Damage over time now heals you for 6.2% of your max health when damaging an enemy, rather than healing you for 66% of the damage done. When damaging an enemy, so no cooldown? That's an AoE, right? Yeah, it's an AoE still. So if you hit multiple targets, you heal multiple times 6.2% of your max health. That's a pretty decent heal. Like, let's say you have, so you go like 35k health per target, that would be a 2k tooltip. If you hit 3 targets, that's 6k per second. It's not bad at all. Just rank up progression, 1.1% for initial hit, 1.1% healing down for the healing from the damage over time. Any PvP content yet? There was a lot. There's the class mastery passes, there's the werewolf rework that we're going through at the moment. We still have the item set changes, the new sets and whatnot. It's a lot. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube after. There's gonna be a lot of things to go through. It might be the most extensive patch notes I've ever seen for PvP. point of view. Generally buffing the skill to now be a full power area effect attack and damage over time effect, rather than reducing the damage of the area effect from the damage over time. As such, we're generally peeling back some of the cleave damage of the initial hit. Yeah, it's not a big nerf, right? I mean, 20% is pretty big nerf. While greatly increasing the damage over time potential in all capacities. So this ability feels more like two separate abilities rather than one blended ability. Yeah, that's nice. I like this design where the morphs are more different from each other. Same with the DK Fire Breath. You can use the one for the major bleeds, that's really, really good on a lot of builds, or you can use the channeled one that creates an entirely different playstyle and makes you approach the game in a different way. That's a really good design. I like that. And I like that they do the same here with Werewolf. I hope going forward we have similar morph design. Don't dislike week 1 of PTS? No, this is good stuff so far, I think. Maybe some kind of crazy passives and whatnot, but it's interesting. It's fun. Like, all of these sound fun to me and look fun to me. Maybe they're not balanced, but you know what's more important than balance? Fun. I think fun is more important. Balance comes after. Like, if balance prevents fun, then you need to balance things. If balance doesn't prevent fun, then you can let things be unbalanced. Werewolves have finally also washed their damn hands, moving them away from disease damage in the kit. So no more major defile or minor defile. Instead focusing in on the physical and bleed to help more savage and brutal experience. Additionally, we're splitting the morph diversity to either add more healing for both damage and bruiser builds, and a rework morph that functions similar to something like Engulfing Dragonfire, helping werewolves who'd rather focus on cleaving foes down. Claw Fury is slightly weaker than the traditional Nash focused build in single target, but comes out ahead in encounters with multiple enemies back together. Ooh. Werewolf Rush of Agony Bomber. You gap close in with pounce, and brr, you do Claw Fury, and everything dies. Oh, I want to try that. I really want to try that. I want to try the other werewolf too, but this also sounds fun. The AoE one. And Devour. Insatiable Hunger. This synergy now has a minor grace period for movement, allowing you to move slightly before and after activating it, without causing the cast to be interrupted. Oh, that's the feed synergy, right? Yeah. That's good. Really good. I mentioned this in my werewolf tier list. That it gets cancelled very easily, the feed synergy. It's very annoying. So now it allows you to move slightly before and after activating it. Note that this grace period is not the same as the resurrection ability update that lets you move while casting it. Okay, how long is the grace period? Instead exists to give a small amount of time to let your momentum end if you cast it while moving, yes. Sometimes like you stop on a corpse with a werewolf, you click the synergy, but your character is still moving server side. And that caused the synergy to cancel. I think that's what they're fixing here. Increase the healing per tick to 20% of your max health, up from 8, nice. 100% heal over the total duration, up from 40%, or 150% increase. Each tick now grants 15 ultimate rather than 3 seconds of werewolf timer. Activating the synergy will disable the cost to maintain werewolf transformation for 12 seconds. So you don't drain ulti anymore. Rather than disabling the cost of maintaining only while channeling it. This passive will also trigger Fury generation each tick if you are a werewolf berserker, even if you are outside of combat. Interesting, interesting. Balance is big part of fun? Yeah, but things will never be balanced, like fully balanced in MMOs. It's never gonna happen. Pursuit. Master of the Chase. This is the... also the move speed. Yeah, I was thinking it's the move speed one, but you also get more stam from heavies. That's why at the moment you have to do a lot of heavies. Passive bonus to heavy tech resource restore now only occurs at rank 2. As it is largely irrelevant for most playstyles after cost reduction changes and cuts down on performance. Yeah, this kind of stark contrast to how Werewolf plays right now, where you kind of want to weave the heavies, and I kind of like that. It's kind of unfortunate it has to go, but I mean, you can still heavy attack to get a lot of stam back. You can also heal to get stam back. You can also gap close to get stam back. You can also just never run out of stam because your abilities are basically free. But maybe you need to like spam rolls or something. Oh, by the way, dodge roll spam is gonna be a lot more doable on Werewolf, which makes Gold Thief a lot better. Would be a lot of heals as a Werewolf. Spamming rolls. Blood Rage. Passive now increase the amount of fury you generate by 5 to 10 per source, rather than adding 3 to 5 seconds to your Werewolf timer when dealing damage. Up to once every 6 seconds. Increase the amount of fury you generate by 5. Okay. Blood Moon. Shadow of the Blood Moon. Just a simple name change that updates the name away from implying the actual Blood Moon is happening every week. New content like content that motivates players to initiate PvP like goals or more decent leaderboards rather than changes. There's the veterancy system. It's like seasonal things to unlock in PvP. And they have the mid-size... as for actual content, they have the mid-size PvP zone next year. But before that is like system changes, balance changes, the class reworks, that kind of stuff. I don't know if any other things come in. Maybe they rework BG leaderboards or add something else in update 51, we don't know yet. But veterancy system is in this update. Savage Strength, Feral Cruelty. Increase the amount of weapon spell damage granted from this passive to 16 to 33%, up from 9 to 18%. Okay, maybe no... Fuck. Maybe no Gold Thief after all. I think he's fun to stack max stats based on this one. That's a lot of weapon spell damage. Call of the Pack, Call of the Hunt. This passive now works by reducing the ultimate cost of maintaining werewolf form rather than reducing the timer drained every second. The percentages are the same as before and works identically. So this if you have other werewolves in group. Reduce cost of remaining in your werewolf transformation by 20% for each transformed werewolf or direwolf in your group. So you kind of want to play with other people, I guess, because it sounds like it's harder to maintain the werewolf after these changes. That's what worries me a little bit about Werewolf, is that you might run out of the timer. Might be a place... this might be a place we iterate based on feedback, as we understand that this passive is vital to allowing werewolves to indefinitely sustain their forms, but regarding utilizing the pack leader morph, or playing with up to 3 other werewolves, or playing with a pack leader, to really gain effectiveness from. We're cautiously optimistic that other sweeping changes to werewolf form sustain will be enough to keep the core experience a case where sustaining form is something you feel spurred to do, but with far more grace than before. Let us know your thoughts. I think they reduce the amount of uptime you have as werewolf, but we'll see. We're gonna have to test that. It's 10 ulti every 10 seconds. And you gain 3 from just light axe. You would need minor heroism, you can get 4 ulti. You can get to like 4 or 5 ulti per second usually. On average, which means that you will eventually run out. Unless you eat a corpse. Sounds like a reason to come back. Hopefully they design a better Emperor-like system to it. Yeah, hopefully. Hey, Rangastaiden. What's the verdict, Oracle? Wolf good or bad after rework? It sounds really good. And I am excited to try it. Like, it sounds fun. It sounds fun. The changes. Especially the gap close one, where it changes based on distance to target. That's really cool. I like the... that you have like different... entirely different playstyle based on which morph you pick. On the previous Claws of Anguish. That sounds cool. I think the spammable sounds very interesting and strong. With like hits twice, but with a delay, so it's a little bit different from other spammables. This is cool. I like this. Scripts, Class Mastery. These scripts have been renamed to Class Flurries to avoid confusion with Class Mastery system, I see. Warden. This script now causes charmed enemies to walk... We were kinda expecting a nerf to Warden Charm, based on all of the feedback. Now causes charmed enemies to walk to the center of the area, rather than to follow the caster. Okay. was done in effort to try and mitigate the frequency this charm could force enemies through terrain. This is a good change, but it's not really gonna nerf the combos, which is probably fine. I don't have issues with the Warden charm usually. PTS Online, what's up, Crimson? Yeah, I will probably hop on PTS. It's 11 PM. We still have the itemization to go through. New item sets. Prowl's Talisman. So it's the new mythic. You acquire it by doing the storyline, that's cool, and you upgrade it by doing the story. While Battle Speed is inactive, bracing while crouching turns you invisible for 10 seconds. It's kind of whatever. 1900 at 10 stacks and 160. It was 160. You guys were saying 150 on the blurry screenshot. No, it was 160. I told you so. But it's not good enough. Like, sure, you can keep this up if you have dots. But given the state of mythics in the game, like Monomyth, in order for this to be viable in PvP or in PvE content, they should be higher, and they should buff DDF as well. Like, both of these should be higher. I think. Class sets. Current item sets, class sets. Ares Cry. This set now increases your damage done by 10%, rather than only damage done with animal companion skills by 10. That's Essence Thief. That's OP now, what? That's a proc set and Essence Thief in one. What the fuck? Sauce. What are we doing? If you play Warden, you run this set. You 100% run this set. What the fuck? That's 10% more damage done against the target. A dot set, or proc set that's on par with other proc sets. It's unfathomable darkness damage-wise. And now, like, it doesn't buff your sharks and your birds, which is kind of whatever. It buffs everything. Holy shit. Buffs your status effects, buffs your light X. Wow. Etheric Lancer. Update damage proc from this set to be considered a class ability. This should help the set scale with a few more interactions, namely a few Templar specific ones. Oh, wait. To be considered a class ability. Also, it gets buffed by Templar passives and stuff, and the Solar Barrage. Weapon spell damage from this set now presses for 10 seconds up from 6 to help improve its uptime in actual combat. It's a nice buff, but it's still clunky. I don't know about that one. Beacon of Oblivion. Adjusted the damage and healing bonuses while no permanent deaths are active, and Battle Speed is active to 7% up from 5%. 7% damage and healing. I mean, it's decent now for PvP. 5% was not really worth, but 7? To kind of put things into context, it's Shield Breaker, but also buffs you healing and it's 1% more. It's only 3% away from being a 100% uptime Essence Thief. That's not bad. It's definitely worth testing, I think. It also drops in all armor weights as well. Interesting, interesting. Monolith for Storms. Increase the damage of this set by 37.5%. Set now grants 200 weapon spell damage for every monolith active. Yeah, no, this is kind of broken. What the fuck? But you have to run Stormcalling abilities. So you'd have to run the Execute or something. I can show the tooltip here. Or, wait, I need to sort the set, right? The damage-wise is pretty decent. 5.1k every 2 seconds. And they buffed that by 37.5. So with 6k damage, that 5k would be... It's actually more because it buffs the base tooltip. So it's 7k plus. 7k plus damage every 2 seconds. That's giga. That is definitely giga. And you get weapon spell damage. You can have 3 monoliths, so you can get 600 weapon spell damage. How is this balanced? Ay. This might be the most broken set. I'm gonna run this on my Sorc. Rest assured. There's a little trick with monolith, by the way. And I don't think they fixed it. I don't think it needs fixing, it's supposed to work that way. But you spawn a monolith when you use a Stormcalling ability, or when you land an Overload light attack. That also works. Also hidden Horcrux, how you doing? So yeah, this is kinda broken. Kinda broken. Fireband. Update is set to interact with Wildfire Ember's new DK class mastery rather than being based off generic damage over time effects. Decrease the damage of the damage over time proc by 31.y. Decrease the damage of the area effect by 26.y. If now removes up to 3 stacks of Wildfire Embers or your Firebrand. Return up to 3 damage over time effects. Adjust the damage, bonus damage effect to 25% per Wildfire Ember stack. Decrease damage of the damage of time by 31.4. Adjust the bonus damage to 25 per Wildfire up to 300%. I see. So it is buffed. Big time. That's a buff. That's 100% a buff. Again, gonna base that 6k weapon spell damage. So it's 8.9 over 6. Let's see. 8,900 divided by 6. Plus you get the plus 60% at the moment. You would get 2.3. 8.9 minus 31.4. Plus 300%. Oh wait, no, I fucked it up. My bad. I fucked it up. 8.9 minus 31.4. Divide by, I forgot to divide by 6. So 1k after the nerf. Wait, how much was it before? It was 1.4. It goes down to 1k base. But you gain plus 300% now. You get 4k per tick. Up from the... how much was it with plus 60%? 2.9. So it's buffed. You just don't heavy attack. Decrease damage of the area of effect proc by 26.1. But you gain the... oh, you gain this on the heavy attack, right? No, they buffed the heavy attack. What the fuck, man? Went to ESO, man. New passive so OP, new item sets OP, or changed item sets. Because I only went through the light attack portion, but you have a 6.2k instant damage on this too. Plus the execute modifier. And it benefits from the plus 60% at the moment. So right now this would be... let's just say 6.2k, keep things simple. Plus 60%. So if you don't have someone in execute, you have a 9.9k tulip proc. Now next patch, it is a baseline minus 26.1. You have 4.5k or 4,581 plus 300%. You have an 18k proc from Firebrand if you have Wildfire Ember stacked and you do a heavy attack. You have an 18k tulip proc with 6k weapon spell damage. And you automatically get it from Wildfire Embers. That is fucking crazy. Mercer proc off a heavy attack, yeah, and you have off balance from decay. So imagine you have full stacks, you off balance someone, you land a bow heavy, and they're dead with corrosive, because you get full pen from Cor on the proc as well. That is more damage than... it's not more damage than Scavenging, right? Scavenging is gonna be 20k. No, it's the same damage as Scavenging, right? Scavenging, for those who don't know, is the hardest hitting proc set in the game, besides Vicious Death. It's absolutely fucking bonkers if you can land it. And now you get it with a heavy attack, without having to deal critical poison damage and then cast Satin Rocks to land it. Which worked in previous patches, but is way easier to land. I don't know, I think this is kinda good. Okay, let's see, Soul Cleaver. Let me guess, they nerf Soul Cleaver. You can use it on Nightblade now. Adjust this set's 3-piece bonus to critical chance rather than max magicka. This set's 5-piece bonus now increase the damage and healing and reduce the cost of suffering abilities by 15%, down from 21%. So that's a nerf. Draining ultimate from this set now increase your damage done by up to 12% based on how high your current health is. Oh, so they buffed it. Yeah, I think you slot this on Nightblade. Pre-major berserk, plus 2%. Because you always full health when engaging, basically. You get 15% on your heals, because you have to run Healthy Offering again on Nightblade. You get less cost on the... maybe this helps you stay alive on Nightblade. So you can sustain Cloak and using Siphon attacks, but we'll see. Pattern Disjunction, I was already gonna run this. This set now also increased damage done with stage effects by 40% while worn. It generates crux when the set activates. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh no no no. So what are you doing? You run this set with Stage Mythic, the upcoming one. Although you kinda want to subclass at the moment, but you could run this on... it's still good. You get plus 40% on top of the Status Mythic, and you get a Crux when the set activates. That's huge. This is kinda strong. You run this... but wait, how do you... No, you can even use Tentacle without slotting Rune Blades. Because my only complaint with this... My only, like, what I thought was gonna be a downside was that you didn't have any good, like, ways to generate Crux, right? You would be using Crushing Shock as spammable every single time when using the Status Mythic. But you don't have to anymore. You don't have to, because you can just use the Tentacle anyway. So you get full Crux with the passive. Ooh, that's gonna be Psalm Stuff and Drauken. So this set, it doesn't say here, but it also procs 2 random stage effects when it procs. With 7-second cooldown, something like that. And you buff these stage effects by a fuck ton, basically. When combined with this, the Arcanist passive, that's gonna be crazy. Ratson, this set now stacks up to 30 times, down from 30 or 40, making it easy to reach the maximum potency sooner. This is what I mentioned on my set tier list, that they should do something like this to make it more viable. Increase the magic recovery per stack to 21, up from 12, helping offset the penalty of this set over the course of a fight while retaining highs and lows of sustained draw. Ratson at maximum stacks now increase the damage of Templar skill line. Templar skill line abilities, not just Donshad, by 25%. Oh. Never mind, never mind. Let's move on. They fucking ruined it. It was looking good, but why this 10% against players? God damn it. It takes then, like, it takes too long to stack up for a good mech region, even. I don't like that. Dungeon sets. Werewolf Guidance. It says bonus duration is now properly reflected in tooltips. Okay. Savage Werewolf. Adjust this set's 2-piece to critical chance rather than max stamina, 4-piece to weapon spell damage rather than stam regen. Okay, it's a lot better to the 4. This set's 5-piece now also grants 6% damage done while in werewolf form. Okay, interesting, interesting. Poly is still not worth running, 6% is not a lot. The proc itself is kind of weak. It's not super amazing, I think. 85% status effect damage while against players while at 170 more ulti. Yeah, and you also get the extra status box from the mythic, and those get 40% damage from this set. And this set procs status effects and generates crux as well. Yeah, I'd say that's kinda good. It's kinda good. Mythic items, script canon. This set did now properly disable slot. Who wrote this? Slot passives of ultimates, it override. So what they're trying to say, this set now properly disables slot passive. Okay, actually, I don't know what it's trying to say. I give up. Pat Signet. This set's bonus damage done. Bonus damage done effect with state effects is now reduced based on the number of permanent pets. Okay, who cares? The value is divided by. Okay, so if you have pets. Okay, that's whatever. It's not gonna change anything in PvP. Turning down how strong this mythic can be in ultra niche cases by targeting the relative problem space pet builds, especially ones that utilize Feral Guardian for the major for the hemorrhaging, right? I don't think that's gonna change anything. Hide of the Werewolf. This set now grants triple ultimate generation 18 while in werewolf form, rather than 6. Ah, 5-second cooldown. When you take damage, we might have a solution to stay in werewolf form. Because they didn't change the cooldown. 3.6, you have 3 base ulti per second, 6.6 per second. Maybe, and then if you get a kill, you get 20 ulti from the PvP passive. Yeah, I can see this working. You also built the... actually, no, you don't build the Fury mechanic with this. Well, it's a 5-piece though, if you go for this. 1k weapon power out of nothing, yes, and that buffs the base tooltip of status effects by quite a bit as well. Worth keeping in mind. Grip cannon on you don't get the passive bonus of your ulti if it has a passive bonus. Grip cannon, you don't get the oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing still. I thought they fixed that already. PP sets. Following sets have received changes to their non-keystone bonuses, meaning their single stat lines, like 2 to 4 piece bonuses, better align with what their keystone bonuses are, as well as to improve on overall hybridization where it fits. Affliction. They didn't change the 5-piece, so who cares? Like, this set is terrible. Weapon spell damage rather than stam. Okay, pen rather than stam regen. Cool, but 5-piece is bad. Crit resistance rather than stam. Okay. I mean, that's pretty good. Blunt plate was... that might be usable now. In some cases. Right? When you take direct damage, minor innovation is applied to your enemy. That's 10% damage... 10% crit damage reduction. So you could maybe... it's only 4-second duration though. I was gonna say you could maybe backbar this in place of... rally on stam builds, but no, you can't. It's only also when slow that you gain the damage, the plus 6%, but you do get a lot of crit resistance from this. This is a good change, regardless. Coup de grace, offensive pen, that's good. Crest of Citadel, crit resistance, 2-piece, okay. Darkon, weapon spell damage rather than max magicka. Ooh. That's a good change. You can play Darkon stam builds without feeling like an idiot. When is this patch coming? Well, we just got the PTS, so probably in 7 weeks, 2 months, something like that. Yeah, this is a good change. A bit more diversity for Darkon builds. Elfbane, crit chance rather than max magicka. Oh, they nerf... Fuck. They nerf my mech decay with this, I think, a little bit. It's not a big nerf, but... max magicka is nice for the Heart of Flame sustain. June 8th. Okay, thank you, Sci-Fi's. So it's still quite far away. Fast Rider, critical resistance rather than max stam. Ooh. Ooh, wait. That's super good now. Crit resistance, for those who don't know, that's 6% crit resistance. That's really strong. Losing value though, kinda? You lose some damage with Fast Rider, but... it actually gains value because you gain crit damage based on your opponent's crit resistance. And if more people have more crit resistance with all of these changes, keep okay. Galerian's Revenge, crit resistance is for Mac region, okay. It's kind of 5 pieces bad on that. Human Sunder, weapon spell damage rather than max stam, offensive burn rather than, okay, but 5 pieces bad. 2 to 4 crit resistance, okay. Oh, reduce the max, but why? Reduce the bonus to 986 crit resistance down from 1650. I don't know about that, like this set was not that amazing at the moment. Why nerf it? We need more crit resistance, not less. Indomitable Fury, crit resistance. I like that they're adding a lot of crit resistance to the game. Night Slayer, now usable on stam builds without feeling like an idiot. But I don't know if it's worth running. Still, it's kind of low value 5 piece. Does it double proc from double heavy? Alright. Legacy Focus, 3 and 4 piece, crit resistance. Okay, but 5 piece is still bad. Crit sense, weapon spell damage. Are they just getting rid of all max magicka and max stamina? Because I'm not a huge fan of that though. Like, when every set is like a hybrid set. Bonus now reduces the cost of any health, magic or stamina ability rather than only magic abilities. Okay. Morkthong, crit sense rather than max stam. I mean, it's kind of whatever. Phoenix, weapon spell damage rather than max magicka, crit resistance rather than max regen. Rallying Cry. Crit resistance rather than max magicka, you can run this on stam builds without feeling like an idiot. Weapon spell damage on the 4 piece. Crit resistance now begins at 986 and loses 50, so they nerfed the rally crit resistance. That's good. And it's a bit more usable on stam builds, I suppose. You still get the same crit resistance, you lose the max magicka. I think that's a good change. But no, it's a good change. It's a good change. Added new food? What? How much is there in this patch? Transmutation, crit resistance rather than max magicka. Healing done rather than max regen. What is the 4 piece of transmutation? I forget. I can't believe I don't remember this. 4 piece crit sense. So you lose the... Oh, this could be good. Rolling's actually buff for you, better damage. I mean, it's the same damage, right? Or you get weapon spell damage if you front bar it, I guess. Top on PTS because Masteries are a bit different than in the nose. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, it's better on stam build now, which is good. It's one of the big issues with the set on live. It's a good change, I think. But you might want to run drops of transmutation. Like the weapon spell damage is not that impactful, I think, compared to crit resistance. And transmutation gets you 1400. No, maybe rallying is still worth, but it's not that clear anymore, I think. You could run transmutation and actually no, they're both light. Never mind. Sentry, crit resistance, okay. Shed pain. No, Zos. Okay, actually yes, but they ruin my cheese dueling build. Oh well. It's more usable now. You can use it on magic builds. Open some options. Shieldbreaker, crit sense, offensive pen, still 6% from the 5 piece, not really worth. Siege Master, okay, whatever. Spell strat, whatever. Record slash, whatever. Don't change the 5 piece, don't change the 5 piece. But more diverse options, I guess. Vicious Death on stam builds now. Guess that's kinda decent. Wizard's Riposte, this is the worse crit riposte, basically. Innervating Aura also applies minor evasion to enemies hit. Ooh. So this one is the the sustain nerf set. Interesting. If you could land this guaranteed, it could be very good value now. It's also minus 10% crit damage. Companion abilities and passives, okay, don't care. Where's the food stuff? Sigil of Imperial Retreat can now be used in or out of combat rather than only out of combat. That's good. It has a cast time. You can stealth or invis when using it. Good change. Now let us mount up in PvP as well, in combat. That'd be nice. Beast personality. Long place the sound of while sprinting. New housing. New furnishing. UI. The sound effect for queuing and leaving queue for Cyril and Icy. Add-ons. Okay. Fine. And that's it. I guess we have to log on PTS to see the food.